miksi. Silloin en ymmärtänyt.
Hänellä on meidän rahat, meillä on hänen talo.
On 1600 kilometriä pitkä koiravaljakkokisa, joka ajetaan Kanadasta Alaskaan. Kisaan lähtee 42 valjakkoa, mutta kuinka moni pääsee perille? Jopa 40 asteen pakkasessa.
Through killing cold, over 1,600 kilometers of subarctic winter wilderness, weary and sore, they run. During the Yukon Quest sled dog race, the far north of America tests each musher and dog to the limit.
When you're out there where there's nothing but ice and snow and darkness, then you just kind of deal with it.
All part of this race. That's why it can be a tough race. It's not, you're not on a groomed highways.
This is the toughest sled dog race on earth. And it is this race. This is an unbelievable race.
Those who endure the quest's hardships see and feel this land as few do. They touch the spirit of the North.
It's a magic out there. It's just something that's an addiction, and I've missed it. Hey, Lily White.
3 times Susan Armington has tested herself and her dogs in the quest. Her team is past its prime, but she can't resist the adventure.
The point of the race for me is to try and have get the magic back that the quest offers, the camping, the challenge, the people, spending the time with the dogs. You're so focused on your team and saving your life. Everything you got is in that sled bag. You've got to minimize, you've got to conserve, you've got to be smart, you've got to stretch the limits.
Susan's training her veteran racers alongside young, untested dogs she found in the newspaper Free to a Good Home. It's going to be tough.
There's lots of challenges in this race. Definitely not for the faint of heart.
Like Susan, Bill Stayers raced the quest before, but his dogs are in their prime.
It's terrific to be out there with your dogs, your best companions, getting them through difficult obstacles, both mental and physical, at certain points on the race, and working together as a team.
A week before the race, Bill takes his dogs for their obligatory nose-to-tail medical check. Head veterinarian Margie Tahar and her team will watch over the health of every dog throughout the quest. Bill hopes that by keeping his dogs in top form, he'll outlast the opposition. Last year, Joran Freeman amazed everyone by finishing 4th in just his first quest. He's a serious competitor, despite owning barely enough dogs.
I have a small kennel. I pick the dogs that I have, and those are the ones that go. I don't really have a whole lot of alternatives, so some of the dogs aren't necessarily really capable of going on these long trips, but they like being out there, and I train with them, so they get to go.
Alrighty.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Sure, you're all set. Let me finish up.
The Yukon Quest runs between Alaska and Canada, 1,600 kilometers from Fairbanks, over 4 daunting summits, and along the frozen Yukon River to Whitehorse. Race day in Fairbanks. It's 20 degrees below freezing. A normal day for winter in Alaska. 570 dogs in 41 teams begin a journey many will fail to finish. Even experienced mushers like Susan are nervous.
So once I get going down the trail, I'll be okay. But right now, I haven't had much sleep and thinking, did I pack everything? You know, are my kids going to be okay? Or, you know, all these things. I'm a single parent, so it's a tough deal. So all of this together is a challenge. But I love it. And so since it's in my blood to do, I love to do it. This is my 6th big race. I couldn't help but sign up.
For the swiftest, there will be prize money, but the quest celebrates other kinds of winners. Margie Tahar and her veterinarian team judge the highly respected Vet's Choice Award for the musher who best combines good racing with good dog care. At 2-minute intervals, the mushers abandon their everyday lives for the trail, and the adventure begins. The Winter North will test each team differently. Susan's challenge is to get as far as she can toward the finish with her untried combination of old and young dogs.
I don't compete to win. That's not my goal. My goal is to do the best I can do with whatever I've got.
Bill Stayer hopes to improve his personal best, 14th place. His dogs are as keen to run as he is. Joran Freeman wants to win, but his team is already at a disadvantage. Each sled is allowed 14 dogs. Today, Joran can muster only 13. For 2 weeks and 1,600 kilometers, mushers and dogs must rely on each other to survive the hardships of the north. At first, the quest follows the frozen Chena River. Although the whole trail is marked, little of the journey will be this easy. Mushers' strategies vary. Most run their teams for 4 to 6 hours, then rest them for the same time. Others run longer and rest longer. Race etiquette requires an overtaking team to call trail and a slower team to let them pass. The lead dog sets a team's pace. Mushers change speed by putting faster or slower animals in front.
I need your bib!
50 kilometers out is the first of the race's dog drops. Places where mushers can offload sick or injured animals.
Can't get your gauntlet?
They also shed the numbered bibs that identify them to spectators. Soon, the watchers will give way to wilderness. But one sled is going the wrong way. Back to the dog drop. The north has struck an early blow. It's one of Susan's dogs.
Yeah, I came back with one.
You want to go?
Oh, well, fine, but she was just running a little funny. Just coming in here, she fell.
Okay.
So, no.
But
Knowing where we're going is not fair. She's a really good dog, too, so it's unusual. So, something's not right. Gee, I hate having to turn around and come back. My dogs are going like, hello. Everybody else is going that way.
The loss of a lead dog so early is hard on Susan and increases the load on the rest of the team. Each dropped dog narrows the margin for errors, and the race has hardly begun. annual Yukon Quest is a major event in the far north. Despite the cold, remote Alaskan communities turn out in support. But even their generosity is subject to rules. Any help, even muffins, can only be accepted if it's available to every team. In February, this far north, there's barely 8 hours of daylight. The quest continues round the clock, each team following a rhythm of running and rest. Sleep will be rare and precious. At night, the temperature drops to -30, but sled dogs run hot. They're so attuned to the cold that even winter sunshine can make them overheat. They can run harder at night. At the first checkpoint, 160 kilometers from the start, every team must stop for at least 2 hours. Here, Bill Steyer collects pre-dropped supplies, food, batteries, and dry clothes. There's also straw for his weary dogs to sleep on. At the end of the first day, the vets examine every dog for injury or stress.
Oh, it's okay, baby.
This is the third time vet Melanie D'Onofrio has volunteered to check dogs at the quest.
I try to do it very systematically so I don't mess up when I'm really tired. I always check my feet. So I've checked my wrist, elbow, and shoulder. And then I'll just work my hip a little bit. When they're laying down, I hate to make them get up. But if it's sore, they're going to tell me.
Alaskan Huskies are bred to race. Far North vet Natalie Fortier knows what to look for.
Really nice dogs. What they want is good feet, good appetite under any condition, a dog that has a nice gait, a nice athletic gait, a nice trot, because that's the most economical gait. So they'll breed the dogs that have the characteristic that they like. That's why you get all the variety of colors and looks, and they're all pretty sweet. Like, I'm going to shove you in my pocket and take you home.
Susan's team has moved up 3 places, despite dropping a dog and getting tangled on the trail.
They wanted to go the one way, and it was full of water. And so then I screamed at them to go left, and they got wrapped in the trees, so I had to run in there and try and unwrap everybody. So I was in the water there in the ice for, I'll bet you, half an hour.
Mushers and dogs need all the rest they can get. An hour up the trail, there's a dangerously steep climb. The quest's first 400 kilometers take mushers across exposed mountain summits towards the Arctic Circle and the mighty Yukon River. The summit of Rosebud Ridge rises almost 800 meters in just 16 kilometers. As they climb, the temperature drops and the wind bites deeply into musher and dog alike. Mushers try to keep their teams moving. If they stop, they may not start again. And this is no place to rest. Rosebud tests the fitness of mushers as much as their dogs. Experience tells on the climb. Veterans sacrifice their own comfort to lighten their loads beyond the survival gear they all have to carry. Rookies who pack too much pay dearly for it. But Connie Frerich is no rookie. This is her 12th quest. She's only finished 4 times, but she keeps coming back. The climb pushes musher and dogs to the edge of exhaustion, but their spirit keeps them going. last, the summit. But descents are more dangerous than climbs. If mushers fail to slow their sleds, they could run down their own dogs. The valley floor offers no respite. Thin ice plagues the races. Bruno Barais checks the ice in front of his dogs. If he falls into water, he'll need to light a fire quickly to dry out before the cold numbs him beyond self-help. Joran Freeman spreads his weight across the ice as much as he can. He's moved from 40th place to 14th, but he's dropped 2 dogs. Mushers can't replace dogs and must have at least 6 to continue. Joran's already down to 11.
Oh, there's somebody coming.
At the next dog drop, a relieved Bill Stayer stops to rest. His dogs have come over Rosebud well, better than their musher.
It's funny, because I run a lot, and I view myself in pretty good shape, but God, just getting up some of those steep slopes on Rosebud, it's like, whoa. I don't know what it would feel like if I wasn't in halfway decent shape.
Bill and his team can't relax. Ahead lies Eagle Summit. At 1,100 meters, it's one of the quest's most dangerous challenges. And to make matters worse, a blizzard is blowing in. The racers fear winds that can blow a team off their feet, and snow so thick they won't be able to see their lead dogs. But most of them decide to tackle Eagle before the full fury of the storm strikes. Along with her veteran dogs, Susan Amundsen knows what to expect.
Oh, Eagle Summit always makes my stomach kind of churn. It's dangerous and it's exciting and it's a nightmare is what it is.
By traveling into the teeth of the storm, Susan and the others risk getting snowed in. But there's nothing to be gained from waiting. The quest never stops for bad weather, no matter how treacherous. Neither dog jackets, fur, nor human clothing takes the bite out of a northern blizzard. The only hope is to keep going. Finally, the storm passes. Bill, Joran and Susan make it over the summit and down to the safety of the next checkpoint. But Eagle pushed Susan to the brink.
When I got in at 3 this morning, I needed to get some sleep, so I got 3 hours. That's the first 3 hours in 3 days I've had. And actually, I feel quite good. Oh, a little stiff, but so anyway, it was terrible going up. There was just a glacier. Everybody was sliding around on the ice. The dogs, of course, had booties on because there's so many rocks up there this year. So they slipped and slid, and oh, it was just, it took us 3 hours to go 5 miles up over the summit. That's crazy. Tough. It was really tough. I was really discouraged. And I almost crashed. I thought, I don't need to do this for me or for them. But then I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And I'm glad I did.
Susan's dogs all made it down the mountain. One musher wasn't so lucky. For head vet Margie Tahar, this is the job she dreads.
Last night we had a dog die during the race. He was coming down with his team off of Eagle Summit, which is a tricky spot, and it's very steep and long.
A veteran of 2 quests, race judge Joe May knows Eagle well.
It's so steep in places on some of the pitches that the sled is, you can't stop the sled. He's slowing the sled, and he's not able to stop the sled. And apparently he got slack in the tow line, and the dogs were tangled.
There was a tangle with the dogs, and this one apparently got caught in a neckline and asphyxiated rather quickly. We're sending him to Fairbanks, to the university, where the pathologist will do an autopsy, and we'll find out exactly what happened. It's a really sad thing when this happens, and it's very hard on the musher. It's like losing a member of your family.
Once in a blue moon, something like this happens. And you can only sit in the straw and cry with the guy.
Circle City checkpoint. Bill Sayer is one of the few mushers still with all 14 of the dogs he started with 400 kilometers ago. But his sled isn't faring so well.
When did you break your sled?
It's broke? Just now. Damn.
Race rules require mushers to make their own repairs without outside help.
I'll fix it.
But the job will eat into Bill's precious rest time. The tiny Yukon River settlement of Circle welcomes the quest with shelter, warmth and food. But the racers' bodies are screaming for sleep. Joran Freeman's keen sense of competition has helped him catch the leaders. But even the most driven of mushers has to rest sometime. Bill Stayer's making sure his dogs get all the rest they need.
Right, Gosh?
It's kind of the point in the race where it might feel a little achy. Everybody likes a massage after doing a lot of exercise. It's a good way to warm my hands up too.
When you're out there with them for 2 weeks, you really develop a good bond with your dogs, and it's a special experience.
By now, the teams are spread out along the trail. It's the next night when rookie Diane Allen finally arrives. Vet Natalie Fortier checks Diane's dogs, and the news is not good.
She really had her act together when she got in and got her stove going, and her dog care is good. There's no problem with the dog care. She just had problems in the routine and running and how often to snack them and that sort of thing.
I have 3 dogs that are too skinny to continue, and one of them's my main leader. I won't be able to get enough groceries on him even if I stay for 24 hours, so we're done for the year. Yeah, it's tough.
Susan understands Diane's heartbreak. She once scratched just 250 kilometers from the finish.
When they go, they go. You haven't got any choice. I've been there. Can't push too hard. That's what happens. So I am not pushing too hard, I guarantee you. I'm the one that has no sleeve. They've been doing really well.
After Circle, there's no vehicle access to the race for 500 kilometers.
Oh, logistically, it's a jump-off point. If anyone has a doubt, any doubt about being able to make it to Dawson to the next road connection, this is a place to put them in the truck. It's a good place to call it a day if you don't want to do the rest of it.
Good girl. Good girl. This is the time you think, well, if I'm going now, I'm in it to Dawson. So, fix whatever you have to fix. Anyway, so.
Susan is one of the last mushers to leave Circle. But the team led by Marcel Fresno hasn't even arrived. Ham radio operators know when she left the last checkpoint, but now she's disappeared. Vet Natalie Fortier joins a search party.
So most likely the dogs have quit on the trail. She's just waiting for them to get up. So, but I said we're just gonna go check to make sure that she's okay.
I'm gonna fly down the trail and see if we can find the location of the musher and the dog team. We sure hope that this is all for naught. We hope that it's just taking a little extra time.
Marcel may be stranded, lost, or injured. Officials have to find her.
She left Central 36 hours ago, and because she left last, we don't have anybody behind her to kind of follow up and find out what's going on, and she hasn't shown up. So we sent an airplane out to look for her and see if we can spot her from the air.
While officials backtrack for Marcel, the race follows the Yukon River into the wilderness, heading for the halfway point in Dawson City. Broken jumble ice punishes Susan and her dogs.
This is an unbelievable race. The conditions that we've been through are really quite horrendous. There's some really, really bad crossings of the river, the jumble ice. So I try and shoot through those crossings as straight as I can manage my sled and not bang into those ice chunks. And it's like hitting parked cars with your sled. Hey, nothing moves. I have to keep switching leaders. It's a constant leader switch is what I'm doing just to finish. Man, I burn up a lot of energy just to try and keep my team going, which is draining me. This is the toughest sled dog race on earth, and it is this race.
Back down the trail, Natalie Fortier continues the search for missing musher Marcel Fresno.
We found her on the river on, I believe it's called Birch Creek. So the pilot put the plane down on the river by the dogs, and I took a look at her team, and the dogs quit on her. She ran out of food for the dogs and herself, and ran out of fuel. And her dogs just were not going anywhere. She just, it was, you know, they were pretty sad bunch, all of them. And I realized that maybe she was, you know, hypoglycemic, hypothermic, something like that. I think she was pretty scared. We had some chocolate and gave her that, and she seemed a little bit brighter after that. She seemed a little bit, you know, cheerier. So she got flown out with the last dog. And the night that she spent on the river, she apparently was not quite sure she was going to make it out. So we're sort of glad we got her out.
Welcome back.
Susan Amundsen has survived the worst of the jumble ice. Approaching the settlement of Eagle, she's following in famous family footsteps. In 1911, her relative, Raoul Amundsen, used sled dogs to win the race to be first to the South Pole. 6 years earlier, he'd arrived in Eagle with news of an Arctic odyssey.
As it came up the river, I was just thinking, I wonder if this is how he came in.
Roald Amundsen came here to telegraph the world that he's discovered the Northwest Passage from the Atlantic to the Pacific.
All these old buildings were here then. He stayed here for like 5 months or something. And, you know, there was like the Men's Red Lodge Club, and but, you know, they all wore tuxes and stuff. I didn't quite come in with the same fanfare, but I'm here. I think the dogs were a means to an end for him. I don't know if he had the love for the dogs. You know, I don't know anything about it. Just because people run dogs doesn't mean they love the dogs. They might love the thrill of the whole thing, but not the dogs. I run the dogs just because I love to run dogs and I love my dogs.
The trails around Eagle are home to these big, hairy working dogs. They live here with fur trapper Wayne Hall. Teams like this pioneered the north. They're not fast, but they're tough. After 700 kilometers, Wayne's sled is the only one still pulled by a full team. Bill Stayers dropped 5 dogs, but the rest check out well with vet Melanie D'Onofrio.
This is a great foot. He's done a nice job with these dogs. See, good mushers know how to take care of these dogs' feet. They put ointment on them, they run them with booties. Can you believe that dog just ran 80 miles? It's amazing.
Bill's done well. Here at Eagle, Natalie Fortier is overrun with dropped dogs.
Normally we don't get more than 10 dogs up here, 10, 15 dogs. We got, I guess, 30 now. I guess there's a few reasons. I think the trail's probably a little bit rougher. Some areas are probably a little bit rougher, and probably a combination of the mushers dropping off dogs a lot quicker than they normally do. Most of the dogs have shoulders and wrist injuries, and a lot of the shoulders injuries you have to drop them. They're just not going to get better in the race.
Despite their injuries, these drop dogs would rather be with their teams. They're pack animals, born to run, born with the spirit of the North in their veins. Secure in their bags, they'll be flown across the Canadian border to the nearest roadhead at Dawson. For those still running, there's a summit and the frozen Yukon River. Another 250 kilometers of trail to Dawson City. The Klondike Gold Rush gave birth to Dawson a century ago. Thousands sought riches from an unforgiving land. Sled dogs pulled vital winter supplies. Dog mushers delivered mail until as recently as 1963. Dawson's retained its Gold Rush heritage. Only now the town is mining tourism. The quest revived Dawson's colourful history. It's a chance to show outsiders the spirit of the North in a town that never lost it. Mushers are just relieved to be here.
Okay, we're back to normal.
In Susan's team, experience is proving stronger than youth. Another young dog has succumbed to the trail.
Poor guy. This is his first race. He's going, wow, what is this? So before he never wants to run again, it's smart to try. You know, when in doubt, leave them out. He doesn't need to go anymore. It's too stressful for him. So I'll just take the old guys.
Now, every team must rest for 36 hours. It's the only time handlers are allowed to tend the dogs, and mushers can get their first decent sleep in a week. From Dawson, mushers climb to the highest point in the race, leaving the Yukon River to follow old trails blazed by prospectors. The leading musher is Peter Pateri.
Hi, guys.
He's on his 10th quest. He's finished in the top 7 5 times. This could be his year. Only 4 hours behind, Joran Freeman still has 9 dogs, and he's poised to strike for the lead. 50 kilometres out of Dawson, King Solomon's Dome rises 1,200 metres. With bodies and minds numbed by freezing winds, it's easy to make bad decisions. Joran pushes hard on the slopes of the dome. The leaders are all travelling about the same speed, so to move up, Joran will have to take shorter breaks. Six hours behind Joran, Bill Stayer and his 9 dogs prepare to leave Dawson.
I think those top teams are pretty much out of touch unless one of them would have some problems. They're good 6 or more hours away. That's pretty hard to make up.
You feel the temperatures dropping?
Everybody seems to be pretty healthy, which is good, because I need to hang on to 9 dogs as long as I can, or maybe all the way to the finish line. That would be awesome.
They don't go down the road, okay?
All right, you guys.
You guys ready? Okay. Thanks. All right.
A long 30 hours behind Bill, Susan departs. Only one of her free-to-a-good-home dogs is still on her team.
Wait, all right, puppies. Hey, guys, are you ready, Shadow Dog? Come on, you guys.
I'm down to my old guys, basically. So that's great. We're gonna have a fun camping trip here. I got enough supplies for a week.
How's that doing? Okay, wait for me today until we get out of town. I need some smart guys up front, okay? All right, so
I'm happy just to finish. I am. In fact, I can't wait. That's an attitude, isn't it? Yeah, the curtain call. This is my curtain call for long distance mushing right here. Ready? Okay. Come on. Thanks a lot. Bye. All right. Here we go.
2 days and 370 kilometres out of Dawson, Joran Freeman has fought his way up to second place by cutting rest.
When I was at the last checkpoint, I only got about 45 minutes of sleep, and I just know that it affected me, so that's one of the reasons why I stopped here, just because I knew that I'd be out on the tough section of trail and fighting just to stay awake, and I don't want to do that right now. I did it earlier, last night, I guess it was. It's just, you just move on and fall asleep on the sled at times, hold on and get shaken off and tossed around. But better than that, if you can get into a checkpoint and isolate yourself from the commotions, then all the better. But it's real hard because you got strategy to think of and people jostling about. You want to find out who's leaving when, and you got to eat. You got to prepare for your next departure. You got to care for your dogs.
Joran's requested wake-up call comes after just 1 hour. Now, cold combines with exhaustion to make every movement and every thought an effort.
All right. That's good.
The trail returns to the Yukon River, where the temperature plunges below -40. At At the next checkpoint, Joran and his dogs are only 4 hours behind leader Peter Pateri. Under pressure from Joran, Peter heads out. But he's rested for 7 hours. Joran is keen to follow, but vet Melanie D'Onofrio is concerned about his weary dogs.
Another thing is that all along the pad, that it's real puffy and there's a big old abrasion right in there. This should not be like this. And then he's getting these lesions, and I'm wondering if it's not the hair that's doing. If it's any way you could double booty, and hopefully with the DMSO in there, it'll help decrease the puffy. They're like running on blistered feet. Poor things.
Before Joran can go anywhere, he must do something about his dog's feet. He tends to sore paws, while other mushers get the sleep Joran so badly needs. Their feet tended to, Joran's dogs find it in themselves to answer his call to run once more. While the quest leaders fight it out, the teams behind them compete in equally demanding contests. Through the bitter nights of the last few hundred kilometers, Susan has had to feed her dogs spirits as much as their bodies.
Everybody gets depressed about this time that's in the back half of the packs because everybody has their own aspirations. Mine was just to finish. The dogs, they're already starting to get a little depressed because of the miles. So the stress starting to factor in, and on me too. So I have to get some sleep and get everybody hydrated and cheery and roll them out of here. I don't want dogs going out better backpedaling or we won't be going. And if everybody else is gone, we won't be going because they won't go. So with that in mind, I need to really rest these guys. I need to get them another feed, and I need to get some sleep myself.
With just 170 kilometers to go, the quest has a new leader.
No, I'm Hans. This is Hans. Hans.
Sledmaker Hans Gantz gained 2 places in the last 130 kilometers. 5.5 hours later, Joran comes in third. His team gets a thorough check by the vets. They'll decide whether Joran's dogs are still fit to run. Morning. The vets give Joran's dogs the all clear. He has high hopes for the dash to the finish. But his dogs have other ideas.
Ready? Hike! 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 Hike!
As a pack, Joran's dogs seem to have made a decision. The dogs are fed and rested, and the vets know their feet are in better shape than they were when they ran on blisters. But could their hearts no longer be in the race? Everyone except Joran's dogs have quit. But Joran keeps on trying. At last, race officials step in. The next team is ready to sprint for the finish at Whitehorse, maybe only half a day away. But Joran can only return to the checkpoint. After 11 days and nearly 1,500 kilometers, his race is over. It's impossible to know why the next tired team obeys its musher's command to go, while Joran's team refused him. The dogs have run beyond exhaustion and pain to come agonizingly close to victory. Joran has cause to be grateful for their courage and spirit. Bill Stayer's conservative strategy has him in 6th place, still with 9 fit dogs.
Game plan now is just cross the finish line. I don't see... I got a good cushion now, so I just need to be cool and be upbeat, positive, and get my dogs across the finish line. That'd be awesome. It will be awesome when I cross it.
Days behind, Susan's team battles on. It's 40 below zero. She's at the back of the pack and down to 7 dogs. She and her veterans are all but done.
So, we swept the trail for the last 2.
You're home. All the kids are home.
Man, not quite. 100 miles to go.
100 miles to go. Won't be that bad.
Yeah.
Only their spirit will drive them to the finish now. At Whitehorse, the town braves the cold to salute the heroes of the Yukon quest. This year's champion is Hans Gart. He and his dogs battled through 1,600 kilometers of frozen wilderness in 11 days, 4 hours, and 22 minutes.
It was my plan all along to win this race, but it wasn't easy, I can tell you that. It was a tough race from start to finish.
Hans wins $30,000, but more lasting is the respect that the people of the North will accord him for the rest of his days. 17 hours later, cold has driven the crowds inside, but Bill Stayer arrives in personal triumph. He still has 9 healthy dogs, and he's 6th. For his combination of speed and dog care, Bill wins the esteemed Vet's Choice Award. Susan finally arrives more than 3 days after Hans.
Hallelujah. Oh, thank goodness it's over.
Once more, she and her old dogs have proved themselves against everything the North could throw at them.
Hey there. Come on, sister. Hey, my girl. What a good girl you are. Oh, 4 times. Look at this old dog. No more.
But Susan isn't last. That honor goes to a team that could have arrived in Whitehorse 100 years ago. All 14 of Trapper Wayne Hall's traditional working dogs have lasted the full 1,600 kilometers. The achievement brings the crowds back into the cold. It's a rich moment for head vet Marky Tahar.
I think one of the best things was watching Wayne come across the line with 14 dogs, because it really represents the heritage of this race. It was exciting to see the fast teams up front and all the good dog care, but seeing those big fuzzy things come across the line was really kind of a glimpse into the past, and it was really a lot of fun.
The people of the North understand the powerful bond between dogs and mushers who seek the challenge of the Yukon quest. The race's heritage is reflected in a special prize. Everyone agrees that Wayne Hall's team truly embodies the spirit of the North.